All right, Big E, we're back with some more nutritional tips. And you have actually a question from one of the viewers today, right?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we said that we want to do on the channel is that when people have specific questions for us, whether it be nutrition or training, we want to try to get to it and answer it for you guys. So moving forward, always make sure if you have a specific question, don't be afraid to put it in the comments, because we read the comments and we'll try to get to everybody if we can. So this was a question. I don't know what his name is, but his handle on YouTube is ALG7498. And he said, "This is interesting. I would like to learn more. I'm wanting to get rid of 30 pounds of fat, but I don't want to lose my hard-earned muscle." Who does? Are you going to put out more nutrition content? And of course, that's what we're doing right now. So yeah, listen, I mean, it's really anybody who's going to lose, people who are watching this channel obviously are people who lift weights, whether they're competitors or not. So the goal is always, to hold on as much muscle as possible when you're losing fat. But that's tricky, because a lot of people don't understand how to diet correctly. And then they just end up, maybe they lose a bunch of weight on the scale, but then they notice that whatever muscle they may have built in the, period before starts to go away, and they, feel very deflated. And then it feels like, what was the purpose of gaining all that muscle just to lose it? So dieting to keep the muscle, is a more complex topic than just like losing weight on the scale. Because what we're really looking to do is not necessarily lose weight on the scale. And I know he said he wants to lose 30 pounds, but what you really have to focus more on than the number on the scale is what your body composition is. You want to lose body fat while keeping muscle. That's the most important thing. So your weight will come down, but don't be too focused on it if you only lost 20 pounds or something like that. So here are some quick tips without, getting crazy, in order to keep that muscle. First of all, don't try to do this quickly. That is number one. Don't say, "Oh, I want to try to drop 30 pounds in 6 weeks and expect to hold on to your muscle," because that's not going to happen. Because in order to do that, you'd have to drop the calories so low, you'd have to do so much cardio that you will end up raising cortisol, your thyroid will come down, it'll be a complete mess, and you will lose a lot of muscle. So if you want to do this, make sure you take your time. Give yourself a period of time. I would say at least 16 weeks, 4 months, even 20 weeks, because the longer that you do this, the more progressively but slowly and gradually you do this, the more you're going to tend to hold the muscle mass and maybe even still continue to build muscle mass during this process. So first tip is definitely give yourself some time. Secondly, the nutrient that is most important in keeping muscle mass is going to be protein. Protein should pretty much be kept steady throughout the whole diet. It may come down a little bit, but that's the nutrient that you want to keep pretty much level through the whole diet, because that is going to help you to keep your muscle mass, keep your metabolism raised, and protein also has the biggest caloric burn from just digesting and processing it. So even in of itself, eating protein helps you lose body fat, and of course keeping that muscle mass on. The more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism will be. So if you're eating, say, let's just say, for instance, 250 grams of protein at the beginning of the diet, you should still be around there somewhere towards the end of the diet. So don't look to lower protein. That's a nutrient that should stay relatively high. So that's the second tip. I would say the best way to lose body fat from a diet standpoint would be to lower carbohydrates. I would lower them gradually, week by week, and check your progress. Nothing drastic. You can lower them by, even 20 grams a week, and maybe at the same time, if you're doing cardio, and I do recommend doing some cardio, it doesn't have to be crazy, and I'm not talking about 2 hours a day, but if you're doing, 20 minutes a day, maybe raise it up to 25 minutes a day, or if you're doing, say, 5 days a week, maybe go to 6 days. Just gradual, every single week, small amounts, will end up paying dividends, even if it doesn't seem like very, you're like, wow, I'm only eating 20 grams of carbs less. It doesn't seem like anything. But trust me, when I diet competitors for shows, this is how I do it. I do it very gradually, and this is what will help to keep the muscle mass, because the body doesn't get shocked. You don't want to shock the body and take away so many calories or so many carbs or so many fats so quickly that the body gets shocked and then goes into a starvation mode, which is basically a mechanism we've always had since prehistoric times, that the body will look to hoard body fat if you lower the calories too quickly, because it feels like it's in an emergency situation, so it has to lower its metabolism because it's not getting as much food. But if you do it gradually, that doesn't really happen. So like I said, do a progressive diet over 16 weeks where you're lowering just a little bit at a time, maybe 20 grams a week, and then maybe upping the cardio just slightly every week as well. Another thing I want to talk about is timing. You can actually lose body fat by just making sure you're timing your nutrients correctly. And I have said this time and again on so many videos, the best times to eat larger carbohydrate meals when your body actually needs it and when your body is going to partition those carbohydrates towards muscle cells and away from fat cells is first thing in the morning when you fasted overnight sleeping, and after a workout when you have pretty much depleted most or all of your glycogen stores. Those are the two times where you're most safe to take in larger carbohydrate meals. So even if you were, say, taking in, I'm sorry, it's a fly in front of me, 200 grams of carbs a day, and you're spreading it evenly through the day, say over 5 meals, if you actually put more of those carbs into the morning meal and the post-workout meal and less at the other meals, you actually would probably lose body fat and gain more muscle at the same time. So that's a very, very important thing. So another thing that I would think about doing in a diet where you're looking to lose body fat, some weight, and keep the muscle is to get more carbohydrates into that first meal of the day and that post-workout meal. And you can even make those your only 2 carb meals of the day. I have dieted many times for shows where I will only eat carbohydrates at meal 1 and my post-workout meal, and the other meals are proteins and fats. Now that brings me to my next point. A lot of people make the mistake of when they start lowering carbohydrates to get rid of all the fats. They're like, oh, if I want to lose fat, I have to get rid of all the fats. But that's not true, because again, that puts your body into an emergency state where it thinks it's not getting any fat, so it has to hoard body fat. But if you will actually add into non-carbohydrate containing meals added fats, so I call them added fats, from essential fatty acids. These are things like walnuts, almonds, avocado, olive oil, fish oil. Those are essential fats. Those will actually stoke the metabolism, help you keep more muscle because it also works to increase testosterone production, and it'll also give you energy and keep you feeling healthier throughout the diet. So I would say these points, if you take these points and you put it into your plan, you will see that you will successfully burn off body fat, you will lower weight on the scale, and you'll keep your muscle mass intact throughout the entire diet. So those are my tips for you. We have a lot more coming. So again, ask any questions you may have in the comments. And this is more nutrition tips from Merlin. And we'll see you again soon on Full Time Bodybuilding TV. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share.